Hi, I'm Hannah. This is my testimony. I was blessed to be born in a Christian household. Growing up, there was never any question if God was real or not. And I went to church, Sunday school, Awana, private schools, and even my daycare was Christian. However, my relationship with Christ was shallow and impersonal, like a distant relative who lived overseas. You knew they existed somewhere else, but it's not like you actually ever talked to them. You just trusted that if your parents told you they were there, then they were there. So by the time I reached middle school, I had stopped going to church. I didn't see the point of tediously going to all of these Christian institutions to hear the same thing 2 times a day, 5 times a week. I could not even realize how much of a good thing was being poured into my life. Matthew 13:15. For this people's heart has grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. Even if I had memorized all of my Bible verses and stories by heart, the weight of Christ's sacrifice was lost on me. But in my opinion, I still thought I was a good Christian. It was fine if I didn't go to church or read my Bible. I believed that God was real, and I just had to do good deeds, and it was essentially the same thing. But then things changed once I got to college. Faced with the world on my own for the first time, I no longer had the comfort and protection of my parents' faith, and I found myself drastically lacking. No armor of God to put on while the devil roared outside like a prowling lion. When people would confront me about why I wouldn't do the same wild things that my peers were doing, I had no answer to give. Because my parents said so wasn't really a strong argument, and it began to make me doubt everything I thought I understood. It was by God's great mercy and grace that I did not succumb to peer pressure at that time and fall away. Things came to a head, though, when my friends told me I wasn't a good Christian because I didn't pray out loud at mealtimes. My pride was stung, and I turned to my usual source for comfort, my parents. I went to my mom to complain, but my mother looked at me and said, "But Hannah, you're not Christian." I was stunned by her statement, and I felt so hurt I instantly ran to my father for consolation, telling him, "I am too a Christian. I believe there's a God in everything." To this day, I remember him on the couch watching TV, and he didn't even look at me. He said, "Congratulations, even the devil knows that God exists." It was the strongest 1-2 punch on my faith and confidence that I've ever experienced in my life. But it made me realize one very important question. What does it mean to be Christian? I realized I had never taken my faith, and even worse, Christ, seriously. He was my parents' Lord and Savior, but was he mine? It was humbling, and it was terrifying. And in the end, it was relieving. And the more that I sought the answer to salvation, it began to open a whole world of answers to all the other questions too. And things began to make so much more sense. The reasoning for all the conflicts I had with the world and myself in the past wasn't explained by because my parents said so, it was because God said so. Luke 9:23-24 and 26. And he said to all, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For whoever is ashamed of me and of my words, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed, when he comes in his glory and the glory of the Father and of the holy angels." To this day, I still learn new aspects about what it means to be Christian. When I first moved to LA, I'd been so used to moving to new places and situations that I had become numb to it. The expectation was that it was only temporary, so why bother fostering relationships? A casual, breezy church life was easier and less messy. Before LBCLA, I would have balked at the idea of church membership. Instead, I realized that after nearly 5 years, Lighthouse has been the longest time that I've stayed with the church. I've experienced and witnessed what I can only call a community, founded on Christ, based on faith, and investing in each other's lives. Instead of just trying to find the answers and struggling by myself, I now have brothers and sisters in Christ coming up alongside me, seeking together. With that, I just have the last verse to end. Ephesians 2, 1 through 5. I wanted it to be 1 through 10, but I thought that was getting kind of long. So. And you were dead in the trespasses and sins in which you once walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience, among whom we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, carrying out the desires of the body and mind, and were by nature children of wrath, like the rest of mankind. But God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved. Thank you.